The economy of Uruguay is characterized by an export-oriented agricultural sector and a well-educated workforce, along with high levels of social spending. After averaging growth of 5% annually during 1996 to 98, in 1999 to 2002 the economy suffered a major downturn, stemming largely from the spillover effects of the economic problems of its large neighbors, Argentina and Brazil. In 2001-2, Argentine citizens made massive withdrawals of dollars deposited in Uruguayan banks after bank deposits in Argentina were frozen, which led to a plunge in the Uruguayan peso, a banking crisis, and a sharp economic contraction. Real GDP fell in 4 years by nearly 20%, with 2002 the worst year. The unemployment rate rose, inflation surged, and the burden of external debt doubled. Financial assistance from the IMF helped stem the damage. Uruguay restructured its external debt in 2003 without asking creditors to accept a reduction on the principal. Economic growth for Uruguay resumed, and averaged 8% annually during the period 2004-08. The 2008-09 global financial crisis put a brake on Uruguay's vigorous growth, which decelerated to 2.9% in 2009. Nevertheless, the country managed to avoid a recession and keep positive growth rates, mainly through higher public expenditure and investment, and GDP growth exceeded 7% in 2010. Currency. Uruguay has a partially dollarized economy. As of August 2008 update, almost 60% of bank loans use United States dollars, but most transactions use the Uruguayan peso. Sectors: agriculture, textiles and leather. Throughout Uruguay's history, the strongest exporting industries have been beef and wool. In the case of beef exports. In the case of wool exports, they have not been doing so well in recent years, suffering from other competitors in the market like New Zealand and the fluctuations of its demand during the 2008-09 recession in the developed world. At the same time, with timber refining being kept within the country, forestry has become a growth industry in the recent years. Mining, although this is a sector that does not make substantial contributions to the country's economy. In recent years there have been some activity in gold and cement production, and also in the extraction of granite. Plastics due to two major investments made in 1991 and 1997, the most significant manufactured exports in Uruguay are plastics. This investments laid the way for most of the substantial exports of plastic-based products, which has taken an important role in Uruguay's economy. Telecommunications. In spite of having poor levels of investment in the fixed-line sector, the small size of Uruguay's population has enabled them to attain one of the highest teledensity levels in South America and reach a 100% digitalization of main lines. Although the telecommunications sector has been under a state monopoly for some years, provisions have been made to introduce liberalization and to allow for entry of more firms into the cellular sector. Travel and tourism. In 2013, travel and tourism accounted for 9.4% of the country's GDP. Their tourist industry is mainly characterized for attracting visitors from neighboring countries. Currently, Uruguay's major attraction is the interior, particularly located in the region around Punta del Este. Specialties of Uruguay. Cattle were introduced to Uruguay before its independence by Hernando Arias de Saavedra, the Spanish governor of Buenos Aires in 1603. Beef exports in 2006 amounted to around 37% of Uruguayan exports. Wool is a traditional product exported mainly to America, followed by the UK and India. Milk and dairy products. Conaprol, National Cooperative of Milk Producers, is the main exporter of dairy products in Latin America. The area of the country dedicated to the dairy food is located mainly in the southwest. Rice. Fine varieties are produced in the lowlands in the east of the country close to Marine Lake on the Uruguay-Brazil border. The national company, Saman, claims to be the main exporter in Latin America. Countries it exports to include Brazil, Iran, Peru, South Africa, Chile, Senegal, Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, Ecuador, USA, Canada and China. Tourism. Several seaside resorts, like Punta del Este or Punta del Diablo in the southeastern departments of Maldonado and Rocha, regarded as a jet-set resort in South America, are main attractions of Uruguay. International cruises call at Montevideo from October to March every year. Also, Uruguay hosts many year-round international conferences. Montevideo is home to the headquarters of Mercosur, the Common Market of the South, whose full members are Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Venezuela, associate members Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador and Peru. Software and consulting. Uruguay's well-educated workforce and lower than international wages have put Uruguay on the IT map. A product named Genexus, originally created in Uruguay by a company called Artec, is noteworthy. Other important developers and consultants include De La Robla and Asociados, Graken and Quanum. Tata Consultancy Services has its headquarters for the Spanish-speaking world in Uruguay. Many of these companies have established in Zone America Business and Technology Park. With a population of only 3 million, Uruguay has rapidly become Latin America's outsourcing hub. In partnership with one of India's largest technology consulting firms, engineers in Montevideo work while their counterparts in Mumbai sleep. The New York Times, September 22, 2006. Banking services. Banking has traditionally been one of the strongest service export sectors in the country. Uruguay was once dubbed the Switzerland of America, mainly for its banking sector and stability. The largest bank in Uruguay is Banco República, or BRU, which is state-owned. Another important state bank is the BHU. Almost 20 private banks, most of them branches of international banks, operate in the country. There are also a myriad of brokers and financial services bureaus, among them Ficus Capital, Gulf and Sociedad de Bolsa, Europa Sociedad de Bolsa, Dario Cuccia, GBU, Coordinación and Asociados Sociedad de Bolsa, etc. Uruguay has fully recovered from the financial crisis that caused a run on its banks. Public sector. The state in Uruguay has an important role in the economy. Uruguay resisted the trend of privatization in utilities and state-owned enterprises in the region. Several referendums supported the state being in control of the most important utilities and energy companies. Some of the companies have a full monopoly warranted by law, others compete freely with private operators. Most of them are dominant in the local market. There is strong debate in the Uruguayan society about their role and future. Some of them made a contribution to the Uruguay state treasury. The most important state-owned companies are República AFAP, AFE, ANCAP, ANCO, Administración Nacional de Puertos, ANTEL, BHU, BRU, BSE, OS, UT. These companies operate under public law, using a legal entity defined in the Uruguayan constitution called Ente Autónomo. The government also owns parts of other companies operating under private law like the national airline carrier PLUNA and others owned totally or partially by the CND National Development Corporation. Raw data. Industrial production growth rate, 12.6%. Electricity production, 9,474 gigawatt-hours. Fossil fuel, 3.91%. Hydro, 95.62%. Nuclear, 0%. Other, 0.47%. Electricity consumption, 6,526 gigawatt-hours. Electricity exports, 2,363 gigawatt-hours. Electricity imports, 78 gigawatt-hours. Agriculture products, wheat, rice, barley, maize, sorghum, livestock, fish. Exchange rates. Uruguayan pesos per US dollar 24.048, 24.479, 28.704, 28.209, 21.257.